Hey everyone, my name is Sean Cecil from the Oculus Institute, and today I'm going to teach you why you should value crises. Okay, so most people look at a crisis as something that they really want to avoid. They're like, hey, I've got to make sure I protect myself from this disruption. I want to make sure that everything stays the way it is. I want to have security, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, that is incredibly limiting. And the reason for that is that the cycle of growth is inherently based in crisis, right? There is no other way. And so I'm gonna kind of walk through what that cycle is, explain why crisis is so valuable, and how you can leverage that to, on the positive side instead of just getting dragged down on the negative side. So let's imagine that everything's trucking along, everything's cool, everything's stable, everything's secure, maybe, it's growing, at a reasonable pace. And then some crisis happens, right? So the reason that a crisis or a disruption happens is because reality was not aligned with what you've set yourself up for, right? Your expectations or the structure of how you're operating is not set up to deal with reality. Now, some people will say, oh, well, it was set up to deal with the reality then, but then the reality changed and that's the crisis. I just wish the reality wouldn't change. Well, sorry, that's not how the world works. Right? Reality is inherently going to involve those kinds of disruptions. And whether or not you're vulnerable to them is ultimately determined by how you set things up. If you're sitting there hoping the world's always gonna stay the same and everything's just gonna go the way it was, I'm sorry, you're out of luck, right? It doesn't work that way. Let's put that fantasy where it belongs, right? In the dustbin. So you're going along, some crisis happens, right? So, things are going like this and then bam, things go down. Now, the next thing that you've got to do is you've got to adapt to that crisis. You've got to take whatever was going on, whether it be in your personal life or in your business or in your career, whatever it is, and you've got to say, okay, given this new reality, how am I going to optimize? How am I going to construct myself for this new world, for this new reality, right? That's the adaptation phase. And that's the turn, right? So things are going great, they go down. That's the turn that happens. And in the course of the adaptation, things go back up. Then once the adaptation is in place, which is going to require work and implementation, then you kind of get to this back to this kind of plateau, this kind of, slow growth phase, which is what I like to call the integration phase, right? Where you're now taking this new way of being that you've adapted, right? You're integrating it in and, you're having it do its thing and, continue on the path. At which point then, at some point, there will be another disruption, right? And whether you call this a crisis or disruption, psycholinguistically, that's gonna have an effect because one has more negative valence than another, right? But there's gonna be another disruption. You're gonna adapt again, and then you're gonna, grow again, and then you're gonna get back to integration, right? And the plateau. So how does this go wrong for people, right? And how does it go right for people? Well, when it goes wrong for people, the crisis happens. Some people never adapt to it. They just sit there and continue trying to do what they did before, and it just causes this just perpetual decline, right? And they never recover, right? Because they never adapted. The other thing that happens is that people will take a long time. So they'll adapt, but they'll take a long time to integrate that. And by the time that they've caught their breath again, boom, there's another disruption, right? And so they never have the time to actually integrate, right? Because they spent so long adapting that they never got the time to kind of integrate, prepare, and position themselves to where they're rested and ready to go for the next disruption. So how does this go right? Well, the way it goes right is, again, you have a little chart up here, and then when the crisis happens, it doesn't fall as far because instead of, waiting forever to adapt, you adapt quickly, right? Then if you implement those adaptations quickly, then it spikes back up and then you're back and you have a long time to integrate and prepare for the next disruption. You may even have enough time during the integration that you foresee the next disruption and avoid it entirely, in which case, great for you. But it's all premised on adapting quickly and implementing quickly, right? At the end of the day, people who do that, view disruptions as, speed bumps or even stair steps to the next level that they wouldn't have necessarily been aware of.
Before you go, I've got a free gift for you. So if you found this video valuable, if it helped you see the world in a new way, and you're interested in building a career that's going to bring you both personal fulfillment and financial prosperity, then I've got a free presentation for you to help you do just that. So if you go to the link below, it's www.oculusinstitute.com/workshop. That's www.oculusinstitute.com/workshop. Then it'll take you to a registration for a free presentation. It's about 50 minutes long, that's 50, and it's gonna give you the step-by-step process to building your dream career. See you there.